guys, ASMR Poppin' Mexican Poppin' ASMR. In today's ASMR video, I have something a little bit different for you guys. I actually have a little bit of a story time, but not really. I'm going to talk about some of the most popular UFO sightings / encounters from Mexico. I am really into UFOs, and I feel like one thing I haven't heard a ton about is UFO sightings from out of America. So, not in America. I saw one recently from Brazil, and that one, as well as one from Russia, are some of the only UFOs that I've heard about that haven't came out of America. And it got me thinking, what UFO encounters have actually happened in Mexico? So that's what I have pulled up right now. Some of the most popular sightings that have happened in Mexico. I'm just going to read them out for you guys. Take them with a grain of salt. Just for ASMR purposes. Straight from Wikipedia. Straight. Why can't I talk? Straight from Wikipedia, baby. Okay. This first sighting happened in 1883. On August 12th, 1883, the astronomer Jose Benella reported that he saw, quote-unquote, more than 300 dark, unidentified objects crossing before the sun while observing a sunspot. At an observatory in Mexico. He took a number of wet plate photographs at 1/100th of a second exposure, although it was later found that the flying objects were geese. Benella is usually given the distinction of having taken the earliest photo of an unidentified flying object. It was just a geese. It was just some goose, a pack of geese. I'm sorry for the car guys. It's 2 in the morning. I don't know why people are flying up and down the road. It's 2 in the morning. Why do you have to drive like that? Okay. Okay, guys. This last story actually comes from Brazil, and it's a proper UFO story. Okay, let's get into this. At the time of the abduction, Antonio Filipos was a 23-year-old Brazilian farmer who was working at night to avoid hot temperatures of the day. On October 15th, 1957, he was plowing fields near São Francisco de Sales when he realized he saw what was described as a red star. Guys, I know I butchered that name. I was just kind of joking around because there's no shot I was pronouncing that. When he saw what he described as a red star in the night sky. According to his story, this star approached his position, growing in size until it became recognizable as a roughly circular egg-shaped aerial craft with a red light at its front and rotating cupola on top. The craft began descending to land in the field, extending its 3 legs. As it did so, at that point, Beos decided to run from the scene. According to Beos, which is the farmer, he first attempted to leave the scene on his tractor, but when its light and engine died after traveling only a short distance, he decided to continue on foot. However, he was seized by a 5-foot-tall humanoid who was wearing gray coveralls, and a helmet. Its eyes were small and blue, and instead of speech it made noises like barks or yelps. 3 of these beings then joined him, the first subduing Boas, and they dragged him inside of their craft. Once inside the craft, Boas said he was stripped of his clothes and covered in head to toe with a strange gel. He was then led into a semicircular room through a doorway that had a strange red symbol written all over it. Boas claimed that he was able to memorize these symbols and later reproduce them for investigators. In this room, the beings took samples of Beos's blood from his chin. After, he was taken into a third room and left alone for around half an hour. During this time, some kind of gas was pumped into the room, which made Boas become violently ill. Shortly after this, Boas claimed that he was joined in the room by another humanoid figure. However, this one was female, very attractive, and naked. She was the same height as the other beings he had encountered, with a small pointed chin, large blue cat-like eyes. The hair on her head was long and white, somewhat like a platinum blonde. But her underarm and pubic hair were red, bright red. Boas said he was strongly attracted to the woman, and the two had sexual intercourse. During this act, Boas noted that the female did not kiss him, but instead nipped him on the chin. When it was all over, the female smiled at Boas, rubbing her belly and gestured upwards. Boas took this to mean that the female would raise their child in space. The female seemed relieved that their task was over, and Boas himself said that he felt angered by the situation, because he felt as though he had been he was little more than a good stallion for the humanoids. Boas said that he was then given back his clothing and taken on a tour of the ship by the humanoids. During this tour, he said that he attempted to take a clock-like device for proof of his encounter, but was caught by the humanoids and prevented him from doing so. He was then escorted off the ship and watched as it took off, glowing brightly. When Boas returned story for the rest of his life. Though some sources say he died in 1992, he died on January 17th, 1991. Following the alleged event, Boas claimed to have suffered from nausea and weakness, as well as headaches and lesions on the skin, which appeared without any kind of light bruising. Eventually, he contacted journalist Jose Martins, who had placed an ad in the newspaper looking for people with UFO experiences. Upon hearing Boas' story, Martins contacted Olavo of the National School of Medicine of Brazil. Fontes was also in contact with American Research UFO Group, APRO. Fontes examined the farmer and concluded that he had been exposed to a large dose of radiation from some source and was now suffering from mild radiation sickness. So this farmer in the middle of nowhere, Brazil, somehow got a high dose of radiation, so much so that he got radiation sickness. How does a random farmer in Brazil get radiation sickness? If you guys want more UFO stories, or more stories in general, be sure to let me know down in the comments below.